Hey, welcome to New Jump City, everybody, where we recap the week in American and Japanese sequential art. I'm your host, Christian, the unbiased king. Still no soundboard, almost. I think by next week for sure, I'll have it all down. But for now, that is my soundboard-less introduction. Also joining me this week, it is the man, the myth, the legend. It is Joshua Gangsta Time Cole.
What's good, everybody?
Hey.
What up, Chris?
Hello, friend. It is just us two today. The OGs. Brian is off this week, but we are still here. We're still kicking. Going to give you some fun times talking about manga. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. You could find me at the Chris Espinal on Twitter and Instagram. Joshua Cole, where can they find you?
At JD Cole_37. That's on Instagram, and at New Jump City Josh. That's on Twitter.
Oh yeah. You can follow Brian at b.esp on Twitter and Instagram, and he streams video games sometimes at twitch.tv/It's Punchline. You can also follow the show itself at New Jump City on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, because why not? Do that. You can email us at newjumpcitypod@gmail.com with any questions, suggestions, anything you guys want us to talk about. That would be super cool if you wanted to reach out. You can also comment under the YouTube videos. Over the next couple days, I'll be releasing the older episodes on YouTube. So if you prefer the YouTube stuff and you've been listening on here, they'll be up, but basically just full episode versions. We still don't have a video capability quite yet. But we will have just like a thumbnail type of deal, and you guys will be able to listen to the show as you please. So yeah, subscribe to us on YouTube, like, share, comment your thoughts on the series that we talk about every week. And yeah, super cool. If you prefer audio podcasts, we are on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there. And yeah, that's it for plugs. For now, I guess check out my other show, The Shweekly. We're almost done with the season. There's 9 episodes out right now. Next week is the season finale. So if you guys wanted to catch up before then, it'll be a fun time. It's a little audio comedy podcast. So scripted comedy podcast thing. So check us out there. It's at The Shweekly. But yeah, that's all the plugs I wanted to get out of the way. Let's get the show fucking started with My Hero Academia. This is My Hero Academia chapter 385, The Impulses of Youth. Last we left off, the heroes in this weird forest thing are all ganging up on All For One to prevent him from reaching Shigaraki. We get a little map to see kind of the relative distance of where everybody is at the moment. It's funny, I didn't realize how actually close All For One was to Shigaraki. But he's pretty much right there.
Yeah, I had the same thought actually. These things happen very close to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they're either all moving really fast with him, or
Mhm.
it was just closer than we thought.
Yeah. And just I guess he included this map as a refresher since he's been taking a couple of breaks lately. I think due to health, and I'm glad he's feeling better, Horikoshi. But basically, All For One is taking on the combined forces of Hawks, Tokoyami. I believe Earphone Jack was there. Shinso's there. Kirishima's there. Yororashi and the other Shiketsu kids are also there, plus Mountain Lady and Gigantomachia are all facing off against All For One, and we're seeing how that's going. They're basically all just hammering this guy as hard as they can and just keeping him from moving. But as Mountain Lady comes down with this giant weird battering ram that she's been using as a weapon. She is basically cut off by one of by a big All For One tendril. Oh no, I think that's All For One himself. I see a face there.
Yeah, it looks like he's like, yeah, it does look like him.
I didn't
Like
even
his face
realize.
at the end, like he's shooting himself out.
Yeah, he tendrils himself and just like chomps off like a bunch, like a huge part of Mountain Lady's side. It looks pretty brutal. Mountain Lady has taken a lot of hits over the course of the series. I'm not gonna lie. She's been a trooper here. But she falls down, and All For One immediately redirects his attack uh, towards Gigantomachia, and takes him down seemingly. Um, and he starts to emerge from the ground, and he's like this weird healing husk. There's like muscle fibers still building around him, and he talks about how like he's thinking about how like perhaps this is my other self's influence, but something dark brews within my core. And he talks about how the younger he reverts, the more untamable it grows. And I'm assuming he means All For One. Like the ability becomes a little more um powerful, and I guess like more out of control the younger he regresses. And he shoots this crazy like lightning cannon towards Tokoyami, seemingly dispersing Dark Shadow. um but I guess as Tokoyami is taking the hit, we see that Hawks pulls a Piccolo and tries to take the brunt of it. But unfortunately, Tokoyami still gets hit pretty bad. um he gets hit with a cataclysmic blast of light. Um, Geez Louise. Pretty.
Youth is a wondrous thing.
It sure is, All For One. It sure is. Um, but yeah, all the heroes seems to have fallen. All For One is still growing younger still. He's talking about how he's like got Hawks like up by his fucking neck, and he talks about how the boy pushed him to such lengths. So I'll be taking his quirk. And Hawks has like a blade through All For One's, I guess, chest, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him all that much. Um, All For One talks.
Not at all.
Yeah, All For One talks about how like you've made a decent showing of it, Hawks. Fierce wings, a putrid, festering quirk factor. But it's to your credit that you've been able to get this far using it. He's like, your quirk kind of stinks, but you really made it cool. So props, I guess. Um. So yeah, basically, Hawks makes the observation that the quirks that he stocks work outside his body and don't mesh well when you're rewinding. So like the simultaneous process of him absorbing quirks and reverting in his age aren't working very well together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but he's like, all this damage is hastening the process. And then all of a sudden, from out of nowhere comes one of the sticky balls of Mineta. And Mineta is the last man standing. He's talking. He's saying like, stealing Dark Shadow for yourself is only going to turn you into a cringy edge lord. And he's like, you want a real quirk?
Already is.
Take my pop off instead. You'll get the sickest hairdo. Just don't take Dark Shadow from Tokoyami. Which is, a sweet thought from Mineta, to be honest.
Yeah. But
And,
for All For One, that was just a braying howl from a weakling.
yeah, but yeah, I guess like
What does braying mean? I'm gonna look that one up.
yeah, the braying howls of the week.
Like a
I guess in that moment, All For One decides, you know what, I don't really have time to take Tokoyami's quirk right now, so I'm gonna just bounce. He like rises up and just starts flying off.
so by the way, bray means like to shout something loudly,
Mm,
and like you can bray with you can bray with laughter, or like it's to speak or laugh loudly and harshly.
yikes. Yeah. So you're speaking loudly with weakness.
Yeah, the Bray House of the week. Yeah.
um. Okay. So All for One flies off. And I think like there's this little section here where he talks about the faction receiving refugees from UA, where designating it as purely non-aggressive defensive force. However, the refugees have yet to arrive. But he's like, there's still a glimmer of hope. And we cut over to the subterranean evacuation system that UA has set up for the civilians of Japan. And we see that all of the civilians are watching on in horror as all this crazy shit is happening, and people are starting to lose faith again in the heroes. And we catch up to we
Hold
catch up.
on. Can we pause real quick?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to save this for my thoughts. I just want to make a point right here.
Hmm.
It's not like a couple people saying this. You were right. You didn't assume that people are feeling this way in general because he made these general speak bubbles along with a group of anxious-looking people. Meaning the point he's getting across is that majority of them are freaking out and starting to feel this way.
Yeah.
We must not forget that the ordinary citizens of My Hero Academia are actually grown toddlers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point,
They're all toxic internet people.
they
That's
really
how real
are.
life people are.
That's
That's how
honestly,
real life normal citizens are in My Hero Academia.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is what he thinks of the masses, as they say.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if he would like say this about that. This is about like the masses as they exist today, but this is what.
In his universe,
Yeah,
for sure.
I feel like this is what he thinks of people if there was like a society where people depended on superheroes. Like I think he would. I think the whole point is that he sees that society would probably get really complacent if there was this like super hardcore force watching out for them at all times, and then people would get not used to struggling, or they would want things to be easy. There's like a convenience thing with like this quirked up society that's been like a little.
Right.
There's been
Like,
it's a
things were too awesome.
Yeah, exactly. The things this is like if
Am I
everything in society
misreading?
was,
Am
huh?
I,
No. I agree. No, I think you got it. I think this is a world where everything
except
was.
for the creature racism?
Yeah, I mean,
Really creature prejudice because it seems like a lot of whatever.
No, I agree. I mean, there's I guess like they're saying too awesome in the terms of as far as like mainline living, I guess the standard of living is just too awesome for the
I'll
most.
put it like this: the people who were supposedly oppressed, which were, I guess psychopathic murderers and general deranged villains, and the what are they called? The parano no,
Oh,
the
heteromorph.
heteromorphs, right? But because he didn't show so much world building, I just I can think of a handful of examples where there were heteromorphic people in places of power or of high status. So it's just a little weird, you know.
Yeah, it's
Again, another one of those. Just believe what I say, and not as
yeah. I
I
mean,
actually show my comic.
when it comes to the heteromorphs, that's the thing for sure. Um, where it wasn't very much built upon until like very recently, but there's been like little hints of like the general public in terms of like hero relations. There's been hints where they really just like immediately dropped them at the drop of a hat when everything started to get
Mm.
kind of bad. They were like, "Well, fuck you, anyways,"
Yeah,
And it's like, this world is we'll get into it more in at the end, but I think like you bring up a good point. It is kind of weird every time that things start to look kind of bad. The people in the society are just like, It's all game over, man. Already
I
immediately.
I don't. I guess the message can just be super simple that this is a shown. You know, this is a shonen manga, and the heroes need to instill hope in the people. And I guess that's enough. I guess
I
that's
think it's
fair
the
enough.
reverse. I just think it's maybe at this point it's probably a little overplayed. Just the amount of how shitty these people are at
I have
times.
no. They're
Uh
such babies.
yeah. It's like immediately. It's like you don't it's not even over yet. But anyway, speaking of which, we cut to one of the spies for the villains that we've seen that are already here. And he's like moving off to the side for a second, and he's like, I know One for All told us to obey skeptics' orders, but now we've lost contact. How can I produce results for All for One? I'm gonna just do something crazy. And he just like
Something great.
he's basically like, I'm just gonna do something right now for no reason. I'm just gonna go off
Mhm.
book right now. And he uses his quirk, which is seems to be electric based. Gunhead finds him and is like, I found the mole. And then as he approaches him, it's just too late. He seems to explode these the ceiling of the underground facility, and we see that Kendo, I think her name is Kendo, Big Hand Lady, and Tetsu Tetsu are down
Yeah,
there.
big sis.
Yeah, Big Sis, and I'm like, what the hell? What are they doing here? I mean, I get it. I guess you got to have heroes protecting the civilians, and maybe Tetsu Tetsu will do something cool down here. There's a reason
Yeah,
he's
not
down
gonna
there.
lie, I'm excited to see them. So I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna complain.
yeah I really like Tetsu 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 Tetsu. That's his whole name. Tetsu 4 times, which Tetsu means iron. So his name is Iron, 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 Ironed. Um, but yeah,
That's creative.
debris starts to fall down from the ceiling, and it's about to crush 2 civilians. As Tetsu Tetsu gets there, he is intercepted by Death Arms, one of the older heroes that has retired because he bitched out and was like, I don't want to do this anymore, man.
Dude, remember
I do
from that
remember.
time in the arc when he quit heroin and now he's back?
I remember Death Arms because he had like a design. He was like one of those older heroes that would be in the periphery, you know. Um, he would just like be in the background, and he would have like a couple speaking lines here and there. I was like, I remember this guy, and I remember him quitting like a bitch after the first
I do
war.
remember that.
Yeah, he took off he left his costume on the ground outside, and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. But he's back, and he's like, I know what lies ahead. We're gonna see history repeat itself, and I know that. But even so, it's hard to explain. And he remembers back to the time where Deku, at the very first chapter, just ran involuntarily towards Bakugo to save him, and he says that the same thing just happened to him, as his body took action all on his own. And the chapter ends as we cut over to the Kamino ward as Ida picks up Todoroki. And he's just like, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. And off in the distance, we see that Stain is lurking about. And that's where the chapter ends. Wowie Zow. Josh, what did you think about My Hero Academia chapter 385?
I liked it. Aside from me being annoyed by a couple things, which I'm going to talk about again, I liked it. I'm excited to see a few characters. I don't feel too strongly about Stain,
Yeah,
but I'll tell you this. I need to see Speed Racer.
Ida.
Yeah, Ida. I need to see him have an incredible feat of strength and willpower and strategy. I
Mm-hmm.
need to see it happen. I need to see a three-way team fight between Ida, Shoto, and Stain.
You know what? I just remembered, and that's so interesting because Remember, like they had all three of them, him, Deku, and
Yes,
yeah, they all fought Stain, and now he's
yes,
there about to fight alongside them.
yes.
Cool,
You get it.
cool, 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 cool.
It works for me, and I'm not being sarcastic.
I'm okay with
It
it.
really does work. It works. It,
I'm
it does it. It's doing it for me.
I know. It's
It
just doing
may.
it
It
for
might.
me.
It could.
It could do it for me. It has the potential to do it for me.
Yeah. I am, as one would say, intrigued.
That's a big word for you here for My Hero Academia. Intrigued?
Yeah, sure is. Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal.
See, I've been listening to this podcast called The Shweekly, and it's been boosting my vocabulary because it's a super smart podcast about super serious topics with
I didn't mean it's a big
people.
word for you in general. I mean, like this, when you say you're intrigued in My Hero Academia, it means something. Because you're usually not. You're usually
I
not
too
intrigued.
like to feel like a preteen reading manga for the first time again.
Yeah.
And moments like this, you know, you might have that.
It might just have that.
So let's rewind back to what we was talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing I want to say about this is regarding how the citizens are portrayed. I think it's annoying to me because it kind of comes across as lazy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I said it the way I did before, where I feel like if the point is that they just want to, he wants to have a story about society being inspired by these handful of people who are blessed to work, you know, that work super hard,
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, I guess that's, like I said, like that's cool and it at least makes sense. It's not really not too much of a mixed message there, although I could probably break them down further how that might be problematic. Anyway, I I guess honestly, this topic is exhausted, and sorry for the horn, guys.
What?
Why don't you go on with a few thoughts while this guy's finished outside?
Yeah. I guess I wouldn't call like the citizens thing lazy, but I would say that it's maybe like overplayed. I agree with you. I feel like there is a little something. I think it's hard because like every time there's a momentum shift, the I guess the audience or the civilians in this world are just like so flip floppy and so immediately like fuck the heroes. Oh yeah, great, the heroes are cool. You know, to where like I feel like if there should be a buffer at least, you know, where they're down, but like the citizens are still like go, you know, because I don't feel like this world is worth saving at that point. Because it's like, what are you fighting for? These people are not doing anything, and they complain at every single turn.
That's a funny ass way to put it.
It's like these guys are fighting for the society, but the society just like is a fair weather friend. You know, like it's like what these guys are. Even in the last war, the heroes have lost considerable. Like people died. There was like irreparable damage done to a lot of heroes, and like all the people could think to do was to be like, fuck them, they failed us. And I think there's an interesting thought with the idea that this if in a world where everyone's special, no one really is, and and you know there's like this convenience factor where if you had superpowers in your everyday life, you would be used to having things relatively convenient, like the little things in life would be taken care of for the most part.
Yeah.
And you know, I could see like a society getting kind of spoiled by that, but this is a lot, you know. I feel like there's been so many momentum shifts that at a certain point this crowd has to pick a side, you know. Like when Deku came back to the school, that was a big moment for the world, you know, where the next guy came back and, they were formulating a plan and all that stuff. And I thought at that moment that like the Society of My Hero Academia would have at least been like a touch more optimistic about their future and more like um a little more proactive also in their efforts to help if they could. And no, really, all they just did is just kind of like hid underground and then are watching and talking shit while Hawks is getting ripped apart and is being held like by the scruff of his neck, and Tokoyami, their children sacrificing their lives out there, you know? So it is
Right, for them to be that dense,
like these are teenagers.
and that's why I said it's like childish. It's very childish, like the
Yeah.
nature of the masses
Yeah.
in this series.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I get the point already. Like I feel like you're doing too much when it in that regard. Um it doesn't bug me too much, but they're doing all this stuff with like showing people that the fight's not over and trying to sway uh public opinion, but at this point it starts to become a little it becomes harder to suspend my disbelief that the people need this much assurance, you know.
So I actually have a rebuttal to one of your points, and I just want to see if you agree with the way I look at it, right?
Mhm.
So you made a point where you was like kind of everyone's special in this society, so like kind of nobody is.
Mhm.
But and then I actually forgot what it was you said right after. Do you remember?
I guess something about like, this convenience, the society of convenience, I guess.
Right, that was for okay. So let's all right. Let me start from that angle. So the way I see it, even with everybody, with majority of society, people having quirks, you still have some people who are clearly more powerful than others.
For
And
sure,
you've
for
even
sure.
had situations where people with strong quirks purposely marry or the Todorokis. I mean the Todorokis are just one family. I'm sure it's happened on a more casual level,
Mhm.
like within dating in the hero society,
Mhm.
So, which is on a side note, I feel like that was a huge missed opportunity for the people who feel like, oh, we're the ones that have lesser quirks or less functional ones that can't really do much with it or it's a hindrance to everyday life. It's instead of making it about just people be looking weird, like heteromorphs, it could have been the people who just are functionally less powerful, like objectively speaking, and how that affects society. But anyway, I don't want to detract myself too much. So anyway, you have you have people who are have higher status than others simply off the fact that they have a very strong quirk and they have a long history of being a hero, or that quirk allows them to do their job extremely well, and they pass that down to their children so that they can also do the same thing and do it really well. And it's almost as if it's an allegory to wealth, like in our world.
No, yeah.
I
I
don't know if that's too abstract,
no, I
so
agree. Um
So the right, so you have these people, the masses, quote unquote, who, in my opinion, are just I don't want to say inept, but clearly they're just not, they're not soldiers, they're not people who have a huge role in society. Because the people that do, they're doing things like, and I think Horikoshi goes out his way. Like the people who aren't panicking, who are like trying to do their best to contribute, the people in positions where they have a job, like people in the media, I guess certain businessmen, people in law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like the people in power that have the ability to change things are these special people with a lot of privilege.
mhm.
So when Horikoshi continuously hammers in the fact that the masses are just childish and so as you say fair weather, and that they're unable to see the big picture, like as again as a collective. I'm not saying there's not a handful of people that are probably really smart and work hard, and he shows that too. I'm not saying he doesn't, but as it's been made clear, generally speaking, the masses aren't, they don't think things out loud through. So coupling that with what I said before, it's really weird. It looks like he's saying like, oh, you people, like, oh, regular people ought to chill out, relax, and just go with the flow and have faith in those with talent and power to save the day and figure things out. And I don't think that's a particularly good message at all. I think that's problematic, actually.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that. I personally, I feel like that's one of the clearest ways I've been able to put how I feel about Horikoshi's dynamic with society, like how he portrays society and the hero dynamic.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think I agree with you a
He's
lot.
like, "Shut up, people! You guys are whining and crying. Let the talented, privileged people handle this shit."
Yeah,
Deku was nothing until he got a fucking quirk, until he got privilege, right or wrong.
No, yeah, you're right. You know what's interesting?
And yeah, these people do work hard and try hard. I'm not saying that,
Mhm.
that they couldn't, that they're not good leaders, but you understand those are the only people who seem to be allowed to really make a change and a difference.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Coupled with how inept the average citizen looks.
Yeah.
It's like it's not just one thing; it's both of them in contrast to each other, creating this like weird message.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you put it in a really good way. I think like at my core, that's more of my issue. You gave a lot of words to like what I was feeling instinctually, I guess. I think my problem with like
intuitively, right?
Yeah, because I think like my problem with it is that there was a message that like when Deku came back that there was going to be a little bit more of the average citizen, like not just putting their faith in it, but also like trying to regain agency and power over their own lives as well and contributing in their own little ways, because the whole point of that whole thing, that the name of those chapters were called like the day we all became heroes. And we've seen like, the heteromorph girl and the little kid kind of vouch for Deku and kind of like quell like the citizens like concerns and stuff. And I felt like that was going to be a step in the direction of, at the very least, citizens being a little more like proactive in being a part of the solution. But you're right. I think like Horikoshi doesn't let them, which is a rough thing. And I'm hoping, and my more optimistic self is that now that people seem to be coming down, like it looks like villains are infiltrating more and more like the evacuation system, that maybe the people will start to be able to fend for themselves and affect their own, like assert their own agency in life in this society, and not rely so heavily on the heroes. And maybe that's what Horikoshi is now trying to display with the moles inside of the various evacuation systems emerging. And that's the hope. We'll have to see if that actually follows through, but I think you're absolutely right. When I mean like about like the society of convenience, it's not a perfect society, obviously, and I think like Horikoshi introduces a lot of interesting ways where there could be like these dark cracks in this society, and like unique ways where a superhero society could still be exploitative and really like manipulative of the lower class. Like you mentioned it with like quirk marriages and treatment of heteromorphs and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a really good point, and I think that is my core. I think that's why it's so annoying to me, because for so long, like the civilians have really only been there to just be kind of like entitled and angry people irrationally and not step up for their own. But I think maybe,
well said.
Yeah, I feel like maybe my hope, and I don't know if it's going to actually happen, is that the developments that are happening in the evacuation system are going to be that moment where, you know, the citizens are allowed to be more than just that. But yeah, that was you. I think what you said was well said, man. That was a good way of putting it.
It's just a collection of my thoughts based on reading the series, from what I remember. And like, I want to be clear, man. Like, I do want to reread the series, to because it always gives you a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that strengthens certain things or whether that makes me change my mind on certain things, or a mix of both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sorry, one moment. Right. But with that said, I do feel like there is a pattern to certain things, and I wouldn't point it out so much if I felt like it didn't happen a lot. But I do agree with you. Like, I think there is a lot of opportunity for Horikoshi to flip things, to flip the narrative, or maybe not flip what he's doing, but change the way I look at the series. Maybe he's building towards a couple things to go down. I mean, I think the citizens are going to be saved by some heroes in that block. To be honest, I don't think the citizens are going to step up.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I was I was just thinking about Deku, where he was given a quirk because of what he showed. He didn't have that privilege, right? I guess that kind of was the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Initially, he earned it. He showed someone that did have the ability to extend that privilege to another person of an incredible quirk. You know what I'm saying? Along with a responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
to change things, and that you can argue that is probably what Horikoshi is trying to show ultimately. Maybe it'll take all of these heroes to have their last breath and be on their last legs for people to rise up and give their all into it, like a spirit bomb type of
Yeah.
type of thing. We'll see. That's what I'm trying to say. I still like the series enough to see. Let's see where it's gonna go. But I'm gonna be. I'm gonna try to. I'm always gonna let you guys know how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see what people think in the comments about what I have to
Yeah,
say.
please. If you can't email, if you can't comment on YouTube, let us know. Email us. We'll read your comments on the show. I'd love to.
Word up.
Like read people's thoughts. To be honest, that's one of the things I wish we had more on this show is people just like letting us know what they thought about the chapters, because sometimes I don't really like check out other people's opinions because I don't want it to really influence my own.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
Yeah, until like maybe after the show, after we record a show, and it's like cemented in history, my thoughts. I can look into other
Right.
people's, but yeah.
Because it's supposed to be a reaction. That's why I'm reacting the way I do, because it's chapter to chapter. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future, right? You
No,
could always say, "Oh, well, you can't be so judgmental because he might change it." That's true, but we react to the shit as it comes out weekly. That's the art form that it's in,
exactly.
and that is how we analyze and react.
Yeah.
New Jump City. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
Prime
Of,
MHA haters plus
uh,
Brian.
other quick thoughts, I guess, real fast. I thought All For One going crazy on the other people was pretty sad. I was like, when Mount Lady got it, I was like, damn.
He went stupid on them.
Yeah, she
Nah,
Makia too.
that beam of light, that was tough.
Yeah, the beam of light was crazy. I mean, hey, we love beams here. Beams are cool.
Yeah, in New Jump City, we appreciate beams.
Yeah, we're beam heads.
Yeah, you sad about Mount Lady. You seen how Giganto got ripped off?
Yeah, no, I was about to
That
say,
was
I'm
his
going down the
man
list.
too. That was really
Giganto.
his. That was.
Yeah. He said a dog. He said a dog that bites must be put down. I'm like, not immediately.
Really? Maybe if it bit your child.
Sure. I mean, I understand that, but you're a demigod.
So I don't know if you can hear that horn that's outside, but let me give you guys a quick update from my real life.
Barely.
There's somebody that is basically boxed in by 2 double parked cars.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's sick. He's sick. Because
Dude.
no one's coming down to help. The
Mhm.
person parked behind him, normally he's not coming down to help. The people double parked ain't coming down to help. Oh man, I just can't wait till someone comes down. He's gonna set it off on
Oh
one of
my
them.
god, dude. That
Yeah,
guy's-
I'll give you guys an update. But
you have to
back
understand that guy's that whoever that is, their anger is rising steadily.
it's been 20 minutes.
Oh my god, the amount of anger. I would have been strong enough to move their cars at that point with my bare hands.
I think they.
Are they free?
It's on come?
I don't know.
Nah, he's still waiting. Sick
Sheesh.
boy.
No way.
Anyway,
Anyway,
excellent podcasting.
dude, that happened to me. Not me, but like I live on the first floor where I live at, and like right outside my window, it's just honking horns. You know.
Yeah, you was right. Yeah. Oh, well, that's true.
Yeah.
Where you live at now, but
Yeah,
even when you was on the 4th floor,
you could hear it.
yeah, what was that? The 2nd floor? I mean,
It was
When
the
you
4th floor.
right off of Eastern Parkway.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was the first. That was the 4th floor. But I was facing Eastern Parkway at the time.
Yeah, that shit was, you hear everything.
Yeah, Labor Day, the day I moved in. Phew,
That's lit though.
I
That's
guess.
so lit to be right there on Labor Day. You go, man, all you gotta do is go right on your fucking front lawn, crack open a few beers, and land a split. You don't gotta go nowhere. You
Well, I'd like to go to sleep.
well, yeah,
Sleeping's
but
rough.
not that night. That's just the one night you don't go to sleep.
Not me.
You got
I gotta work.
364 days of the year to get sleep. One night you could break,
I'm okay. I'm not a big parade guy.
if you say so.
All right. Well, that's My Hero Academia. I guess we should move onward. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let us move onward to Jujutsu Kaisen. This is Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 220, Self-Purification, Self-Constraint.
Alternate title: Setting the Table.
Oh
Part 98.
man, crazy.
This is yet another setup chapter, by the way, guys.
Yeah, it is. It is
The
another.
98th one. By
Yeah.
The way. And did I make that number up arbitrarily? Sure. But does it sound accurate to you? Let us know in the comments.
Sounds accurate to me, and that's all that matters. So we start off this chapter with a big panel displaying the damn, what was this thing called? I just read this series over
In
again.
the realm?
The prison realm.
The prison cube?
The prison cube realm.
Yeah.
And plus a detail of
Plot cube.
of
The
Geto's
cube.
what?
The cube.
The cube.
What's that from? That's from Transformers.
Oh yeah, the cube.
The cube.
Get the cube. Cinematic
Yeah.
masterpiece, Transformers.
It sure was. Michael Bay's a treasure.
For real, unironically. Those movies were
Oh.
incredible.
Oh, you weren't being iron.
You remember the time where it goes shoo, 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 shoo. Go,
Yeah, I like that a lot.
yeah, I like it when they go choo, 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 choo.
I wish I could hit mute on the car outside.
I mean, we can barely hear it, if that helps.
That's nice.
We hear it very faintly. But in any case, let's get this chapter started. The chapter starts with Geto ominously asking Kogane to add a new rule barring new players from participating in the culling game. And the Kogane, who looks a lot like Kenjaku himself, he has stitches on his head. I like that the kid, like, I wish that they did this more where the Kogane look like they're sorcerers. Kind of like the transponder snails in One Piece.
I think well, that
They don't
really
usually.
would be biting off of One Piece.
I'll take it. I
But
don't care.
don't they all have that thing on their head?
No,
All the
no,
Koganes?
I don't think so. Do they? They
I'm
don't.
gonna go check.
Yeah, you
You
check.
keep it
I don't
posted.
think they do, though. I think Kenjaku got a super cool evil one for himself.
We'll see.
Okay, so we get a little bit of exposition. we learned that Japan has numerous pure barriers, which are, quote, a better barrier of Tengen's cursed spirit suppression, and there are 4 of them that are pivotal. There's one at the center of the Imperial Palace, one at the tombs under Jujutsu High, the Yamakuni Mausoleum in Kyoto, and the colossal one at this mountain of Hida, which divides Japan into east and west. And the culling game consists of a bond barrier, which is an even better barrier than the pure barrier. He then explains that the culling game has no game master, but if there is one, it's Tengen. Although Geto forced that on him. And he said that after the Shibuya incident, if Tengen had released these pure barriers, the culling game would have ended and his plans would have been for naught. But without the pure barriers, it would have been necessary to redo the never-ending fight with cursed spirits and reclaim the barrier technique know-how from 1,000 years ago, whatever that means. So Tengen decided to not destroy the pure barriers and prevent the culling game from happening because he was betting that the people that, you know, from Jujutsu High and whatnot would win.
Mm-hmm.
But now Geto has Tengen, and he seems to have full control over him as he summons an evil Tengen, basically. And he approaches one of the barrier at the mountain of Hida, and he asks the Kogane again to add the rule that prevents new players from being added to the game, and he says that if he doesn't, he will destroy the barrier on Hida and forcibly end the culling game. And this starts to send Kogane into a fritz. The Tengen spirit asks, "What are you doing?" And Geto says that he's creating a glitch so that no matter what happens, the Kogane will be effectively forcing the end of the culling game. Or disrupt the continuance of the culling game. So it won't be necessarily over, but it will make it so that the culling game will be over sooner than anticipated. So he gave it a choice, and he figured that between the choice of breaking the barrier, which would end the culling game immediately, and Geto's new rule, which would end the game not immediately, Kogane then chooses the Geto rule, preventing people from entering the game again. And then he commands the Kogane to add another rule, stipulating that the game ends when all players except Suguru Geto and Megumi Fushiguro have died. And he says, if you don't, and obviously you know what happens next, Kogane adds that rule. So basically, the name of the game now is that the culling game will not end until everybody is dead except for Geto and Sukuna, actually. That's crazy.
Yeah. OP rule.
OP rule. So Tengen asks why adopt such circuitous means. Circuitous. And he explains if he just wanted to end the culling game, why not simply remove this pure barrier? And Geto explains that because then the barriers for the merger with Tengen would disappear. So, you know, and that's his whole plan. So they go deeper into this weird cave, and I think they actually find the actual corpse of Sukuna. I think that's what this thing they find is supposed to be.
A corpse of Sukuna?
Mm-hmm.
Like one of them?
No, the actual, like the full body corpse of Sukuna.
No way.
Because look at the face. It's Sukuna's face. And he asked Tengen if he could take this to Sukuna as a souvenir. So I think that's his body.
Wow. That's crazy. I just thought it was a random priest that turned into. No, I mean it has the four eyes, but so does Tenjin. So I thought maybe it was like a. It started turning into a Tenjin like figure because of his, you know, cursed barrier or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking more
So
at the
I don't
arrangement.
think it just be weird. No, there's no way that's the corpse of Sukuna because all the fingers is spread out and stuff.
That just because the
Right?
fingers are spread out doesn't mean that the corpse still wasn't around.
Wow. So someone chopped the fingers, but left the rest of the corpse.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Or
Guess we'll
Sukuna
see.
did that because he was able. We learn more about that later. I'll explain why I think that Sukuna did it himself. Like he chopped off his own fingers and sent them off. But yeah, we cut away from Geto and Tengen, and we cut over to the various protagonists now discussing what to do next. We see that Ui Ui, the brother of Mei, is talking to Maki, and they're talking about how like now Kenjaku can end the game by getting rid of all players except for Sukuna, and so Maki then basically is like, well, I guess to win, we just need to defeat Kenjaku and Sukuna. Um, and Ui Ui is like, well, you say that like it's easy, but it's like trying to kill Satoru Gojo. And Maki is like, yes. And Gojo is going to come back.
Yeah.
So, that's a point in our game. We then cut over to, I guess, this medical tent where the reverse curse girl, like the nurse, I forget her name. I think her name is Ieri. We see that she has used her reverse curse technique on somebody, and it looks to be Angel. As we cut to a flashback as to when Angel got chomped, she got nom
Hmm.
nommed by Sukuna, and she actually crashes into what looks to be the curse technique of Amai, who is one of the Culling Game players that we saw early at the start of this arc. Um, and thanks to them, they basically saved Kurusu's life. And we see that she is now being healed by Ieri, and Okotsu is also there, and he asks, "Is like, so Kurosu is in no condition to continue fighting, but he asks the angel if she could if they could switch bodies like Sukuna can." And Angel actually explains that it's not possible because just like the other ancient sorcerers of the past, a lot of people accepted Kenjaku's invitation because they didn't know how to become cursed objects after death. But Sukuna
For
did.
them to be able to infiltrate, right?
Well, he didn't. They did. These other people didn't know how to do what Sukuna did, which is why I think that Sukuna was the one who distributed and scattered his own fingers.
Oh, I see. In order to awaken himself in the future or whatever.
Exactly. So he turned.
Okay.
He just did that with Megumi. So he knew how to do that, but all these other ancient sorcerers didn't, and including Angel. So it's not. In order for Angel to transfer bodies, they'd have to be able to do the same thing Sukuna did, and it doesn't seem possible for them. Um, so it's not it's not good in that regard. But they do say there's like, well, we still can undo Gojo's seal, so that's good. Um,
Mhm.
and the girl, the host of the Angel, is like, what about Megumi? What will become of him? And we cut to outside where Amai is talking to Itadori about how he was always just this weak kid, and he always like would hide behind stronger people and ally himself with the stronger people. That's why he ran away, leaving Itadori to fight those bullies back in the day. That was like a thing that was alluded to in the very start of the Culling game. These Itadori knew Amai from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's also the reason why he was hanging out with Helicopter Head and Jet Hair Girl, because he just like hides behind stronger people. And he's like, I wanted to change. I wanted to go fight alongside you, but I've got no guts.
No
And
glory.
yeah,
Right.
and he apologizes to Itadori, and he's like, I don't know much about you, but I know what you did save what you did, and that saved Kurusu, so we still have a chance. Um, and Itadori gets up and starts.
Right. That was really important.
It was, and Itadori starts walking away, and Amai's like, "Wait, are you still gonna fight? Sukuna isn't in you anymore." And Itadori is just like, "It's fine. He never really helped me anyway. He's not the Nine-Tailed Fox or nothing. He wasn't helping me."
Right. And yeah, he didn't whatever power he got from Sukuna initially, all it did was kind of activate his cursed energy, right? That's all
Or
it really did,
reinforced
kind of give
his
a
already,
catalyst.
because he was already really strong. It only just like
Right.
reinforced it and melded with his.
It like I like to say it jump started his cursed energy more like it didn't. It's not like with the Nine Tailed Fox where Naruto can lean into the fox chakra sometimes to make him stronger. That's not what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever.
Yeah.
He just because he had to learn how to use the cursed energy and form it into techniques and stuff. It's not like he had a super raw strength.
Mm-hmm.
He had that unique hit, the double hit. Remember?
Yeah.
But that's because of
Oh yeah, I was just trying to remember the name.
It's not Black
Divine
Flash.
Fist
That's
or something like that.
yeah. I don't think that had much to do with Sukuna. I think it was just the way he was using his cursed energy that it had a delay to it. But like you said, his most of his ability is about his actual raw physical strength. That's then amplified more by his own cursed energy as he's been learning to use.
Yeah.
And like they mentioned in the next panel, Sukuna kind of left enough residual cursed energy for that same effect to take place regardless. So everything's still the same. Checks out.
Yep.
I think it was important to clarify that Itadori's the same strength, and
Yeah.
there's nothing really missing.
Still
Anything
that guy.
else he would gain is going to be from training, and not from something Sukuna helped him with.
So Itadori,
And he wasn't getting stronger with the fingers either. My bad.
No,
He wasn't getting stronger with his finger either, right? I mean, Sukuna's presence was getting stronger.
Yeah,
but
Sukuna
him
was getting
himself-
stronger, but Itadori was not.
Yeah.
But anyway, Itadori rejoins the rest of our heroes, and he starts off. He's like, I have some ideas for helping Fushiguro, and Okotsu is like, me too, but basically everybody's like, eyes on the ball. The first thing we need to do is render Sukuna unable to fight, which is a crazy task.
That's the second time they said that, actually.
Yeah, basically.
They're really trying to emphasize the point that, we're going to have to beat the shit out of Megumi.
Yeah.
Sukuna in Megumi's body.
Yeah.
There's no way around that, guys. Like, there's no way to save him. We might end up killing this nigga in the process.
Yep.
We must take him down. That was pretty much how she said it, and that was a very respectful way.
It was a nice way to say it. Choso pulls up and he presents Itadori with a book, which is the records of the soul research that Tsukumo left behind back along with the back of the prison realm, and he's like, it may prove useful. So Itadori thanks him, and he's like, no problem. He's like, no, I mean about your brothers, and he's like, it's okay, they'll all live on inside you. And as the heroes are convening and talking amongst themselves, Ieri remembers back to where Gojo first declared that he will foster a strong and intelligent group, and he won't leave anyone alone. And she mentions that she was in love with one of them, and that's something that would have never happened even if the world was turned upside down. But you idiot, who's alone? I was there all along, and there are a bunch of monsters now awaiting your return. And the chapter ends with a panel of the back of the prison realm as Ieri thinks to herself and telling Gojo to come back. And that's where the chapter ends. Josh, what did you think about Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 220?
I think when Gojo comes back, it's GG for everyone, including Sukuna.
Oh,
I don't know. Like, did Gojo, when he said that he would be able to beat Sukuna, Did he mean like in that stage he was in, like at the beginning of the series, or is he really inferring like him, the full complete curse
Oh, he
spirit
meant the the full Sukuna. He said that he might be able to help him. He might have a little trouble with him, but he could beat him at the end of the day.
Elastic lines. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I think that's when they get Gojo is GG, and I won't even be mad. I would just like to know what the next arc is going to be.
Yeah.
Because that better not be the end. Better not be.
Yeah.
Better not be Gojo comes back and GG's everybody's shit.
I don't know if it'll be that simple, even if he does come back.
Maybe they'll have a Gojo counter.
Yeah. But were those your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is giving I unfortunately for you, Josh, I think that we're setting the table for the final act here. All the heroes are convening. They're down to take down the big bad first. Like the most consistent threat throughout one of the most consistent threats throughout the entire series. I think they're setting the table. I think we're gonna enter. Here's my theory. I wonder if what they're thinking of is that they're gonna go inside the prison realm to get Gojo out.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So there's going to be like a little mini arc within this arc of a team of people.
Really dope.
Yeah, of a team of people going in and rescuing Gojo, which would be cool.
Do they have the judge guy there?
No, Higuma's not there, I think. Oh, Higuruma, sorry. I don't think he's there. I don't see him in this.
Yeah, and his curse ability doesn't really fit for like mass combat.
Yeah.
Perfect for a one-on-one fight.
It's funny, he is out there, so you know, I have no doubt that he'll show up again.
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind either.
And I can't wait because he's still great. But yeah, I think we're definitely entering final arc territory, which, you know, Akutami has said that, you know, he has like about a year of this series left.
So don't enjoy it, just like your favorite characters. The entire series will be gone.
That being said,
soon and sudden.
I mean, you know, those are, you know, the general estimates of a mangaka. You don't really know if they'll be sticking. I don't even think they know if they'll actually be sticking to that timeline. But I think when they think about these series in their mind, they're like, I think there's a year's worth of story left. I think that makes sense. I don't really know where you take Jujutsu Kaisen after you take down Sukuna and Kenjaku. Like it's not like One Piece where I can see where like there's just so many things that are unresolved. You know? Which is unfortunate. Yeah. Jujutsu Kaisen is obviously one of the best, but it is looking like it's bearing down. But I think that it's going to be one of the craziest final arcs ever. If this is like we're gearing up for the final ride here, if anything else in the Culling game has already proven, it's that it'll be fucking insane and lots of dope action and.
Oh man, I'm so fucking upset right now, bro.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bum you out.
No, because when Jujutsu Kaisen ends, we're gonna have to fucking read My Spy Family, aren't we? or what else?
I think Sakamoto Days will be a good replacement for Jujutsu.
Blue Box.
Why are you so angry at Blue Box? I said it was okay once.
That's too much.
It is funny, you know. I was just thinking about this today. I was like, man, a lot of series that we read regularly on this show are entering their final phases.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, obviously One Piece has still got like a handful of years left. But man, Black Clover, I don't even know if it has a year left. Maybe a year and a half. I feel like for Black Clover, I would say maybe My Hero Academia has maybe another year. This show's going to be different soon.
Yeah, it sure is. We're gonna have nothing to argue about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure you and Brian will find something. But anyway, yeah, those are all my thoughts. I thought this was A really cool chapter. Actually, this was my really good chapter of the week. I'll say it. I said it. I'll say it.
This was your really good chapter of the week?
Yeah, this was mine. This was my really good chapter of the week.
Not mine.
Oh, well, la di da. No, yeah, I thought it was. I love seeing all the heroes come together and stuff. It's kind of like the Avengers assembling. My only hope is that Todo makes his way into this group somehow.
Same.
And
also, Nobara.
Who?
Nobara.
And Nobara. Oh my god. If Nobara comes back, I'll be the happiest boy on earth. We need our Nobara back. We need Kugisaki back. But yeah, that's all I got for Jujutsu Kaisen. It was a really fun chapter for me to read. I had a really good time reading it. I can't wait for next week. I'm glad it's not on break. I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen just has surprise breaks randomly. So, I'm glad that this isn't one of those weeks. And yeah, you ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go to Chainsaw Man, chapter 126, Food Fight. Last we left off, the falling devil was causing all sorts of mayhem across town, killing devil hunters, making food for this weird worm creature, and hunting down Asa. And the last chapter ended off with Denji coming onto the scene and fighting the famine devil herself. And this chapter continues off right where it left off. Denji's just still trying to kill the famine devil, and it's not taking that lightly. So it just straight up kicks Denji into a building, and she basically picks up the apple that she dropped fighting Chainsaw Man, and she's like, "You must be Chainsaw Man. I won't kill any more humans. There's no need for us to fight. My final task is to drop Asa Mitaka into hell, and then I'll take my leave." And Chainsaw Man is like, "Did you just say drop Asa Mitaka into hell?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she explains that she was given a job to feed the residents of hell, and Asa is the final course in that meal. And he's like, "Well, that's nothing you say makes sense, but now I have an excuse to kill you. Wah! Keep your hands off my potential potential girlfriend."
That was a great way to put it.
Yeah, it was. But you know what? I thought Denji wouldn't remember this. Like, I thought he wouldn't remember Asa. Or does he only remember standing her up?
Asa doesn't remember.
Oh, right. You're right. Yeah, I thought Nayuta removed both their memories. Okay, you're right. So yeah, he charges at the famine devil again. Oh no, not famine, falling devil, sorry. And she basically just stops him, and she's like, "You're impeding my cooking. I must ask you to leave." And she tries to do her fall thing, and Denji immediately starts getting flashbacks of Power and Aki. Very, very sad moments in manga history, consecutively happening one after the other. And Chainsaw Man starts to fall upward. And the falling devil is like, "Well, that takes care of that. Now to get not to go to Asa." And then Chainsaw Man descends from the sky and cuts the devil in half. And oh god, this is crazy. Denji's strategy for fighting devils that use mental attacks is to cut up his brain immediately. As we see him just chainsaw his own head to damage his brain, so that so that the falling devil's attacks won't work on him. And you could tell at this point the falling devil's starting to get tight. He's like, "You stupid boy." And to Denji's credit, his strategy works. He is still like beating her down with his chainsaws, and she's like, "I'm not a corn dog," because Denji keeps saying that he's like, "Oh, a corn dog. I love corn dogs." and he's eating the famine devil actually as he's cutting her up, and she's like, "Stop that! I'm not a corn dog." But maybe you're right. As a chef, I, a chef ought to experience being eaten at least once. So Denji eats her, and to his surprise, she just bursts out of his stomach, which is actually kind of crazy because being eaten but I guess Denji isn't exactly the Chainsaw Man yet, like the full form Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I guess so. It doesn't count.
Yeah, because usually what happens is when Denji eats, or when the Chainsaw Man eats a devil, it disappears. But I guess he has to be full Chainsaw Man to do that. But anyway, she bursts out of Denji's stomach, and Denji just keeps trying to chop at her, but it doesn't work. So Denji is now fully split in half. His bottom half is probably like 3 or 4 feet away from him at this point, and the falling devil flies off. He's like, "Get back here!" And he's just lying there useless until a mysterious figure shows up, cuts their own hands, and starts feeding Denji their blood. And Denji awakens again, and we see that the person who revived him says, "I still need you to fight, Chainsaw Man." And the chapter ends with the falling devil actually finding Asa in this little funny.
She was hiding in the corner.
Yeah, she was like, "It found us," and she's like, "I found you."
I found it.
And that's where this chapter ends. Josh, what did you think about Chainsaw Man chapter 126?
This was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
He ate her, and she regrew back in his stomach.
Yep.
Yo, what? I haven't seen this much carnage in a minute. But aside from all of that, it was really crazy seeing. Oh, excuse me. It was really crazy seeing Power and Denji again, especially in the last time we seen them.
Power and Haki, you mean?
That was yes, Power and Haki. Him with the barrel in his head, and her with the cake before she got blasted into smithereens. Ooh, man. Oh boy.
Sad times.
So yeah, sad times, but yeah, hectic chapter. I wish I knew more about everything in the world so that I could get every single reference he's making. I'm just not that worldly.
Yeah.
I'm not as sage as I thought. And wearing a tank top too. So.
Yeah, I mean, hey, don't sell yourself short. Tank top sage is still sagely. Were those all your thoughts though?
Yeah, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah. Man, I mean, this is just a big fun carnage chapter of Chainsaw Man. I thought it was fucking awesome. I love Denji's simple but still dumb way of fighting mental battles by cutting open his own head. It is very gory and edgelordy, but in a very fun way, I feel.
Yeah.
See, this is how you do like edgelord stuff, but make it cool. You know what I mean? Chainsaw Man has always been so good at that, at just taking these kind of like boneheaded edgelordy things and making them just fun and silly and entertaining, and sometimes deep. But yeah, I mean, this chapter was just a lot of violence, blood, gore. If you're into that, you're into this chapter. I'll tell you what. I gotta say, I do love. I don't know if I really talked about this, but the Chainsaw Man, Denji's design as Chainsaw Man is one of the coolest character designs of all time.
Yeah.
Like, there's the little detail of the eyes underneath the chainsaw thing that I always really liked. And obviously
it's great design.
Yeah,
all of that.
It's just so cool. But yeah, I don't really have much to say, mostly because this is mostly an action chapter and a very gory, fun one at that. the falling devil is so fucking strong, bro. Like, she's not falling to the Chainsaw Man at all, dude.
She's not. There's got to be a way to beat her, though.
Yeah.
Maybe it has something to do with her ability to make people fall. Maybe if you don't feel bad about anything in your life, you can't fall about. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. If you don't have any trauma, which hard pressed to find people without it.
You're right. And I guess that just generally speaking, you're not on the menu.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any beef with you, but that doesn't beat her.
Yeah. Yeah, cool shit, man. I can't wait to see what this goes. New chapter comes out the day after this episode records. And it's a shame that it doesn't come out with the rest of Shonen Jump so we could like cover it in earnest all the way through. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where this goes. Chainsaw Man's one of the best going right now. If you're not reading Chainsaw Man, I don't know what you're doing, or watching Chainsaw Man. What are you doing? Get on it. Get on it, bro. But yeah, that's all I got to say about Chainsaw Man. Shall we move onward, Josh? Any rebuttals?
Nope.
Alrighty. Let's go to Black Clover. This is Black Clover, chapter 357, The Final Slash. Last we left off, Yuno pulled up and stunted on pretty much all of the paladins and Lucius, and was like, "This is my city now, and I'm gonna be the Wizard King, and you're not my rival. Asta's my rival. He's not here right now, so I'm gonna take you down." And he comes down with his cool, epic, mystical form slash thing. And this chapter starts off with Lucius, I guess, calmly blocking it. So there's that. And Lucius explains that absorbing Lucifero has made him physically tough as well, so his attacks won't reach him that easily. And he's like, "I see your spells are enormous here. I'd imagine even you won't last that long. In the end, your struggle is pointless. You'll only prolong the suffering." And we cut back over to Yami, who is looking after Jack and is seemingly facing off against the recently revived and paladinized Morgan. And we get some thoughts, in this black panel that's just like, "Arg, damn it, am I gonna die?" And we get a flashback to from Jack's perspective, as he is, I guess, fighting with Yami back in the day. And he's like, "What the hell was that for?" And he's like, "Wake up, loser. We both look like bad guys, but I'm on your side, scrawny dude." So Morgan comes through, and I guess they just completed a mission together. And he's like, "Well, we should try to get along with the other brigades, Yami." And he's like, "He picked that fight, all right. It's fine." So, Jack is seeing over that he overhears some other people talking about the Gray Deer Brigade's light and dark duo, which is Yami and Morgan. So, he's just overhearing these guys kind of praise them. And he's like, "Ha ha ha, I like it. Someday I'm gonna slash them both." And we cut back to the present as Jack starts to get up despite having a massive hole in his stomach. And he's like, he turns over to Morgan, who's like, "It's okay, I'll use my light to send you to heaven." And Jack thinks to himself that up until now, he's slashed like crazy and honed his skills. And now I'll slash everything apart with one last attack. And we get a big 2-page spread of Jack unleashing his ultimate attack as Morgan unleashes his. And Jack's attack is so fucking strong.
Slash.
Huh?
Planetary slash.
Yeah, basically. And it is so fucking strong that it creates a massive crater, or I guess like fucking gash across the earth all the way up to the Clover Kingdom itself.
He created a geographical landmark.
Yeah, basically. And he manages to cut a bunch of these angel things on the way. Um, and Jack is like, "How's that? What did you think about my final slash?" And Yami looks over. He's like, "I hate to admit it, but that was really something, Jack." And he's like, "I just got one regret. I never got to cut you up." And Jack falls over, dead, it seems. And Morgan actually descends from the skies as it seems that he's dodged Jack's final attack. And Yami's like, "You sure ain't the Morgan I knew." Oh, first of all, Morgan lets off a classic shonen line of, "Hoo hoo, if that had actually landed, I would have died." And Yami's just like, "You sure ain't the Morgan I knew." He's like, It pains me, but many more people are about to die. But don't worry, you'll all be reborn and happy together." As Mario Leona seems to punch these spirit hands that rip her arm apart. And that's where the chapter kind of ends. And yeah, Josh, what did you think about Black Clover chapter 357?
Well, I like to think that Lucius made a really good point in the beginning, talking about spell,
Mm-hmm.
because you know I don't think Yuno's going to beat him. I think he can do a lot of damage, but he made the point like, bro, all you're doing is prolonging y'all death. But we all know something that Lucifero doesn't. And that's that the real actual main character is about to pull up and cut him into several pieces.
Yep.
So that's what they holding out for. Stupid dickhead.
Dumb bitch.
Dummy.
Dummy.
Anyway, I like how Jack's life flashed before his eyes.
Yeah.
And the moment he keyed in on was, I guess, the first time he got his ass whipped by somebody else with a sword or slashing style of offense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it left an imprint on him. He never forgot that. Like, I don't know what happened. He almost lost his left eye. Oh, I think he was about to cut him, and then he stopped. That's what happened. He stops the darkness. The darkness stops right at his face. He's like, I could have slashed you, but we're done. So I like that moment a lot.
Yeah.
I like Jack, man. I think he went out like a G. I don't think he's dead. And we bugged out giving him the death drop. I just wanted to hear it that time. But he actually changed the Clover Kingdom into East and West now.
That's true.
East Valley and West Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Jack did that. I bet you could see it from space.
Probably.
From magic space.
It is a pretty massive cut in the earth. So it's actually possible.
It sure is.
But
I understand that. Do you have any extra thoughts on this chapter?
Oh yeah. This was really cool. I always liked Jack. He's like, the berserker Kenpachi type, that just likes fighting and stuff. And I always liked those characters. I always had an affinity for them. And Jack did go out like a fucking badass. It was kind of cool to see. Although he didn't really like have a lasting attack on the enemy themselves, it was cool to see him do something of that scale, and give Yami a chance. Like something even more to avenge, which is pretty cool. That one panel where like he basically where Yami like does that slash to Jack. It's like one of the coolest panels. And I just like how the sword is like, I could have got you.
I'm mad it took me so long to realize what was happening.
Yeah.
I thought he was healing him.
No.
And then it didn't make now. It clicks now.
Yeah.
It clicks now.
But yeah, this was just a really cool chapter. Jack had a cool way to go for one of the cooler characters in the series. I don't think he's dead either, but he might be. I mean, who knows? This is also another final arc, so all holds barred here. I don't know what's gonna happen with Mary Leona. Are they saying that thing turns people into paladins, and Mary Leona is currently being turned into a paladin?
Oh, hopefully not.
Won't be good.
That would be really rough.
Yeah. But yeah, I hope that's not the case. But that's all I really got to say about Black Clover this week. Really cool chapter. I thought it was pretty awesome. Do you have any rebuttals? Anything else to add?
No.
All right. With that being said, let's move on to Undead Unlock. And I'll let you take it from here, Josh.
All right. Undead Unlock. Chapter number 155. You seem to be in trouble by Yoshifuma Tozuka. Last week, the Union?
Yep.
Sure. The Union, Fuko's Union, not Juicy Juice. Not Juicy Juice's Union. Figured out how they was going to make their way to space to save the child Phil, who will become the Unfeel Negator. And they settled on 3 people, 3 and only 3 people specifically, being Fuko, Void, and Nico.
Mm-hmm.
For their leadership, striking ability, and engineering skills, respectively. Okay? Remember, only 3 people. So we begin this chapter with Mr. Sean, who is unseen, begging Fuko to put him on the space mission, and asking why isn't he suited? And Fuko's like, listen, we had to think about a lot of different factors, and aside from you not really being worth much, as far as the stuff we need, there's also the possibility, we have to think about your safety. Like, what happens if you end up floating off into space by accident and then we can't see you? Dog, it's over. You'll be flying. You know what I mean? I guess there's worse ways to die.
That's a pretty bad way.
Because you could kill yourself instantly. All you have to do is release the suit. But once you get to that point where it hurts to even fucking still breathe, from the starvation and dehydration, I guess you could just finally let go and embrace the sweet, the sweet embrace
release of death.
Yeah, so just the thought of that makes him run away scared. So Nico pulls up and he's like, man, we'd be able to see him with thermovision. You ain't had to scare him like that. And Foot was like, nah, you don't get it, Nico. These negative abilities change on the fucking fly based on our interpretation. The author made it very clear, Nico, that this is a established rule. This is how we're going to make this series even better. So we need to account for that,
Mm-hmm.
I like Fuko. I appreciate her for that. She considers the fourth wall.
Yeah.
She doesn't break it like Deadpool. She just considers and is aware of it. Yeah. So anyway, back to Mr. Sean unseen. He's still running through the hallway, and he's like, man, when push comes to shove, I'm no slouch. As he gets yanked into the fucking room, assassin style, by Gina, who looks like she's about to actually kill him. And Sean's like, oh, you feeling okay? Like, you feeling better from before? And she's like, look, fuck all of that. I want to go on the ship and you're gonna get me there. Right? And she's trying to explain to him how, look, regardless of what they said, I gotta be there to help Fuko, and my unchangeability is just too fucking strong for them to not bring aboard. Which I actually agree with. She has the best ability.
Yeah, she's borderline broken at this point.
OD, yeah. So right, I feel her. It's like all that shit they were talking, nonsense. I'm making my way on that shit, and you are too,
Yeah.
regardless of the consequences. So Unseen, Unseen's like, all right, bet, no doubt. So how are we gonna do this, right? So they pull up to the lab, and Gina's like, oh shit, they already got this rocket like damn near built. And she's like, I figured I knew they were starting from scratch, but well, what actually, I'm a little confused by this. She says I was convinced they'd build one from scratch, but they must be in that much of a rush. Which are they trying to imply that maybe they borrowed this rocket from someone,
No, I think
got it from
they
another
just
place?
built it faster than she thought.
Wow. Okay. Um, it's so funny because she's relying on Unseen for them to look, for her to look at the specs of the rocket ship and see how they can get about going on board. And he has to keep his eyes closed to keep them invisible, so they don't know that they're spying. So he's complaining how he wants to see the rocket, and she's like, "Shut up, man." Like, whatever. I thought that was funny. So we hear not Nico, but his staff plus what's her name
Which one?
with the long black hair? Uh
Ichiko.
Nico, huh?
Ichiko, I think her name is.
Ichiko. Yeah, Ichiko.
She's on
Okay.
sleep.
Yeah. Basically they're talking about how, you know, they're talking about the cargo status and how it has to be at a specific weight. But they do notice that they do say that we have a lot of extra space, but they'll keep it empty for now in case they need to bring anything else along. So it's setting up that they can clearly sneak aboard the ship without it being a problem, since they're not going to probably exceed that weight limit with these two adults, one being the size of a child.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they figure they're going to sneak on. So Gina's like, so Gina pulls up, like brings Unseen to this training room basically, and she's like, "Look, we're gonna power up your ability, right?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" like how are we gonna go about doing that? She's trying to explain how, like, look, like your negator ability is to not be seen, right? So if you step on the scale and it represents a weight, I can tell you're there. I can see you're there because the weight proves that there is something there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So she's basically trying to break down to him and us as readers at how negator abilities can evolve. They're setting the stage really well. This guy's a good writer.
Mm-hmm.
His editor is fucking top tier too. This might be the One Piece editor or something. I don't know. This is Hattori at work.
Yeah, this is
Shout out to Hattori,
Mr. Hattori.
my nigga. Um, so yeah, she's just like letting him know, like, you can do this, man. Like, just work hard at it, and we're gonna go out to space. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I like how that sounds. Let's do it. Excuse me. So a couple days later, they make their way onto the ship, and when it's time to launch off, and they go check the status of the cargo, he uses his ability, and lo and behold, they become weightless, and they blast off without being detected. Noise! The
Noise.
Negators are out in space. The last frontier.
Dun dun dun.
There was a reference I wanted to make, but I actually forgot how to actually say it. So I'm gonna hold that one down for
Okay,
now.
I believe in you.
Anyway, takeoff was a success. Um, we cut back to Unseen and Unchanged in the storage hub, and they're basically trying to figure out. So, like, like, what are we gonna do next? And Unseen is talking to Gina like, oh, I want to hear, like, what excuse they're gonna make up, because they're gonna be mad. We can't just go up to them and say, "Oh, hey guys, what's up? We made our way onto the ship." They're gonna feel some kind of fucking way. They might even fire us and kick us off the team. Fuko would never, but Jean is so naive and sensitive to Big Sis Fuko that she was devastated by that potential information because she, in fact, does not have an excuse and figured that it'd just be like whatever.
Yeah, it would be like,
So,
obviously they'll be happy.
right. So the funny thing is, as this conversation is going down, Unseen is like, loosening his control over his almost said quirk, LOL, over his negation ability. And it's starting to show up in the weight of the cargo hold because Nico could see it immediately. And they're like, why is it fluctuating? It's like going back and forth, back and forth. And one of them is like, it might be a Uma. With men never enter. I guess it could have been.
It could be.
Maybe.
I mean, what else could it possibly be?
It might be a Uma. I guess I would have that reaction too if I lived in that world. But they're interrupted by a voice saying, Fuko, we got a visual of the space station. I imagine that's how he screamed it. Like he interrupts them and let them know. And she's just like, oh, hey, okay. Which piece of debris is the lower level? Oh, really? They're not part of the big space station? They're definitely part of those small parts?
I think they're applying because the tragedy is already underway. So they're just trying to find the point where they would be.
I see. But Nico makes the point that, like, we're not going to be able to dock. Maybe the lower level is where they would have been able to dock, but because it's been destroyed, they don't have a spot to dock. So he says they either have to ram into it or cast an anchor, and they can't ram into it because they might ram into the section where Phil and his mom will hold up at and kill them, making the whole mission for naught. It might also kill them as well inside the spaceship. But they decide that we got to figure out how to put an anchor down. And Void's like, nigga, I'm out. Like, I'll do it. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nico's like, oh, like that's crazy. The Uma might still be on the station. And Void's like, dog, that's why I'm here. Please let me go out here and shoot these niggas. I need to. I have so much ammo.
Please.
You have no fucking clue how much ammo I got. It's unlimited. I can go until it's gone.
Pow, pow, pow.
Right. And Fuko's not trying to hear that. She's like, no. What if the Uma is a good guy and wants to join our team and be cool? The Void's like, no fucking way that'll ever happen in his life.
Did she say that?
No, that's not what's said at all. I'm ad-libbing. But hey, if you want word for word, you should read the comic. Either that or deal with my abridging. Anyway, just like how I'm interrupting what I'm just saying, Fuko and Void's conversation is interrupted by Unseen and Unchained, pulling up saying, "You seem to be in trouble. Make it a double."
Team rocketing the situation.
Yeah. I feel like there's inspiration from that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they pull up all cool, like, yeah, just leave this task to Unchained and Unseen. And then the panel right beneath them, you can see Void, like, whoa. Fuko's like, what? Nico just hemorrhaged. I don't even know the medical term to call it. His brain
he's having an aneurysm.
He's having an aneurysm. Nico's actually having. So they killed Nico. If we had the drop, we would. Chris would for sure do it right now.
Yeah.
We don't have the drop.
He's canonically dead.
He is canonically dead. He might be brought back to life, off screen, but just know that we know that he's dead. So yeah, I like how Unseen is like, we'll bail you out and you can call us even. I'm dead. And Gina's like, just as planned. So yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Before you say anything, before any words come out of your fucking mouth, Chris, RGC.
Yeah, I
This is
understand
my
that.
RGC. I really like the chapter, but let me hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it
But was there
was.
an audience?
Yeah, we have a three-way tie in the audience vote.
Oh, you were talking about the audience. Okay.
Yeah, not me.
Okay.
My RGC is pretty definitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Well, I guess this is as good a time as any. I think we have a three-way tie in terms of the audience really good chapter of the week between Undead Unluck, Black Clover, and Jujutsu Kaisen. And if you guys want to,
Well,
if you guys want to vote on the really good chapter of the week poll that we do every week, you
you
could
said
check.
Black Clover,
Yeah, Black Clover.
Undead Unlock, and Jujutsu Kaisen.
Correct. And if you guys want to take part in the poll, you could subscribe to us on YouTube, where I put the poll up there every week. It used to be on Twitter, but YouTube allows for just like for more choices. So we have up to 5. So yeah.
YouTube is where it's lit at.
What?
YouTube is where it's lit at.
Yes. Yes. So check it out there. Subscribe to us on YouTube and take part in the poll. But yeah, this was great. I think this was my runner-up chapter. I had a fantastic time reading it. I love that he reminded us of that little like plot point where the negations, like the ability, like the strength of a negation lies in how you interpret certain things about your negation, and it adds an interesting layer to like training your ability in this arc where it becomes a little bit more metaphysical, where you're like, however you see the concept of being seen is what is going to be negated. So if you step on a scale and that weight goes up, then that is technically being perceived, being seen. But if you can make it so your weight is not there, then you won't be seen. And that is a technical negation of the concept of being seen, which is pretty crazy. This series uses semantics as a superpower. But yeah, I had a really good time reading this. I love this power system in general. And yeah. Josh, what did you think?
Like I said, this was my favorite chapter of the week, and obviously what was a stacked week. I liked all the chapters, even My Hero Academia, because it gave me a lot to think about. But where I feel like a few chapters were set up, like My Hero and Jujutsu Kaisen, Black Clover and Undead Unluck kind of pushed the narrative a little bit further, the plot, even if it was by a little bit. And I just liked Undead the most. And as you talked about already, my favorite part was the breakdown of how they plan, how they can potentially level up their negation abilities. And it's interesting because Fuko says upgrade, but the way these negation abilities manifest, it seems like there's always some type of give and take, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Even Fuko's abilities, the way she understands it has changed, and the way she can put her unluck into objects, but she can still, things can happen that are still out of her control, where like maybe a bullet she aims misses and hits something else, then somebody touches that. So there's still like this balance without it getting out of control, where it's like, yeah, everyone's about to just get stronger and be more combat ready. It's still this very real world like problem involved in how they grow. I like it. I really enjoy the duality of it. There's a lot of thought put in it. Like it's not a complex power system or way to progress. It's actually super open ended, and it's very creative, and that's what I like the most about it. It made me really excited to see, wow, how are the others going to grow? And it can be spontaneous. It can be worked on. It can happen at random moments because it was kind of written that way, and that's fine. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's if it's established that way, that people can absolutely simultaneously develop like abilities, that's fine. I'm not gonna have a heart attack about that. Especially knowing that there is balance to these abilities. It's never gonna just be something that completely helps them in a fighting situation.
Yeah.
There is give and take, even if the give and take happens in a later situation. Like a negative kind of part. That's the impression I get from the series. That's how I remember it.
Hmm.
So I was really excited. I have no idea what's gonna happen in space, but I'm gonna go ahead and predict that a big part of the story is gonna unfold here. I think whatever happens with this Uma, I don't think it's just gonna be about them saving Phil. I think they might. I think they might learn something about the world because they talked about. I feel like this very subtle world building going on. And I swear it's not mostly because they talked about that country when they talked about the space station thing. With the war between over disk, and just the actually really those are the only pieces of world building I can really think of in all honesty, which was the war and what's happening right now with this suspect a scientific experiment. I just wonder. It makes me wonder: are they gonna, before they end up taking on God and all of that? I should say all the Umas and all that. Like, is there gonna be a conflict where they need to sway the human race, and it's not up to just this very tiny, minuscule fraction of people in the whole world to change something? I'm not about to have an issue about that the same way I would with My Hero Academia. I just think it would be really cool if there was a little bit more of a world, overall world to this, like a little bit more to the plot than just as it's been laid out. Because the way things are going now, it's very episodic. It's starting to feel like it's episodic, but
Yeah.
I don't have a huge issue with that yet, but I am paying. It is on my mind, and we'll see. We'll see if the plot thickens, as they say.
Yeah. No, I agree. There is like a monster of the week type element to this where there's definitely a pattern to Undead Unluck.
Like it truly feels like a reboot
Yeah.
in the sense that it's like now we're going back to like how it would be in early chapters or something before a real huge narrative is
Hmm.
takes form.
Yeah.
Cool. Like,
Yeah.
is that what's gonna happen? We're gonna get a bunch of these mini arcs until the final one.
Yeah, I think so,
I
honestly.
wonder.
To be honest, I think that's what the case is. I think this series is not so hard on the world building, but to be fair, it hasn't really promised that, so I'm okay with it.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. That's why I'm saying I'm kind of hoping and making it more of a prediction. But yeah, it's not like it's really been implied.
Yeah, and it does have a world, there are events. This world does have like somewhat of a history. It's just not very intricate, which is fine.
Yeah.
Not every series has to be this sprawling epic.
No, it does not. Not everything has to be One Piece.
Which is nice because to memorize all these little details about a world would be overwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah, sure fucking would.
But yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said, Josh. I think this is a phenomenal chapter, to be honest. Second best to me. I really like Jujutsu Kaisen, but this is close second in my eyes.
I really like Jujutsu Kaisen too. Actually, being real with you, the order was Undead Unluck, Black Clover, Jujutsu, and then My Hero. But and I also I did not read Chainsaw Man. Sorry, guys.
Wow.
But I completely forgot.
Wow.
When I opened up Chainsaw Man,
Wow.
it was on the last page and it looked really familiar to last week for some reason. So I was like, oh, okay, we read this. I guess it's gonna come out tomorrow, and we'll cover it next week. But I was wrong.
Wrong.
I'm on the run now. I'm gonna read it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the first manga that comes out for us,
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah. All right. Well, those were all my thoughts. Anything else you want to drop before we close this out?
Nah, I'm straight. I think I succinctly expressed my views on this chapter.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been Undead Unluck, and that has been our show. Oh, yeah. Another one in the books. Thank you guys so much for listening, as per usual. You could find me at the Chris Espinal on Twitter and Instagram, Josh at JDCole_37 on Instagram, at New Jump City Josh on Twitter. Brian is at b.esp on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to catch him when he's streaming, you can check him out at twitch.tv/It's Punchline. Follow the show itself at New Jump City on Twitter and Instagram and on TikTok. Subscribe to us on YouTube so we can do the Really Good Chapter of the Week poll. That's where I post the audience only poll that you guys get to decide what your favorite chapter of the week is, and I announce it on the show. So take part, like, share, subscribe on the YouTubes as it stands. I'm almost done, I guess rendering everything. So, the episodes that have been going on since I lost my computer tragically will be going up soon. So check that out. You could also subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're there. Check us out if you prefer audio podcasts. And email us at NewJumpCityPod. Did I say that? Email us at NewJumpCityPod@gmail.com. In the meantime, if you don't really want to comment on old videos, you can email us there and let us know your thoughts, your opinions on the story, on our opinions, on the show in general. You could email us questions. That would be super cool to receive. But yeah, any of that stuff at NewJumpCityPod@gmail.com. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stay safe, New Jump citizens.
Peace out, and let's go Knicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got our first win.
Yeah. All right. Later.